Hi everyone and welcome back to Nick's Diecast. For today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale Maisto 1989 Porsche 911 Speedster. I found this model on eBay. I paid about $35, maybe $36 for it. And I'd say overall for that price, it was a great buy. Maisto isn't making this model any longer, but when they were making it, they came out in a variety of colors. It came in this really cool purple that you see here. It also came in a bright red, bright yellow, dark blue, white, and I believe silver and black too. And these are widely available on eBay, and prices for these generally go between maybe like $25 and $45, depending on what color and the condition of the model and whatnot. So the real Speedster was actually a very limited production car. They only made, I think, just over 2,000 units, and it was only available in that year in terms of this iteration of the 911. And it was kind of reminiscent of the 1950s Porsche 356 Speedster that also had kind of a two-seat setup with this tonneau cover going on behind the seats. But overall, I would say that this is a good model from a Maisto. We'll go ahead and take a look at the details of the model here. We'll begin up here with the front. I think Maisto did a great job with capturing the look of these lights. Yeah, they do have a peg in them, but actually, if you look at it from a certain angle, the way the lenses are made, or like the way that the lenses are textured, that kind of hides the peg a little bit. And only if you actually look up really close, you do actually see the peg that's in the center there. But on the real car, that is kind of where the light bulb would be, so it really isn't a big deal that these have those pegs in them. And the lenses are actually nice and flush with the metal body too. And these lower turn signals you see down here, they are actually separate amber colored pieces, which is nice to see. A lot of these budget models are just kind of painted on, but on here they're actually separate pieces. You get kind of a generic license plate down here, BPPS 911, and you do actually get separate fog lights down here too, which look very nice. Now the badge on the hood is actually just a sticker, but most of Maisto's models from the early 90s had this, or most of Maisto's models from the early 90s use stickers for their badges. So just be careful when you're cleaning up the model. You don't want to rub off the sticker. The overall paint quality on this model, I would say, is very good. A lot of Maisto's models from the 90s have the issue of the orange peel and the rough texturing. I showed that in my previous videos of other 90s Maisto models that I own. This one doesn't really have that. I looked around the car multiple times and I really can't find, there's maybe very faint traces of it, but it's not as obvious as it was on my Dodge Concept vehicle or my BMW 3 Series model. So I think the paint job is really nice in that sense. And this purple really looks awesome on this car, especially paired up with these black seats and these black wheels with the silver around them. Just incredibly cool. And the metallic finish actually looks very cool too. If we take a look at the side of the model, we'll take a look at the wheels next. I think Maisto did a great job capturing these black 5-spoke rims that were, I think, the only available rims on the real Speedster. And the tires are actually branded too. They say Dunlop and a bunch of other things. I can't read all of it. But they will be the real tires that are on the real car, so that's actually a very cool feature. And then, of course, like all other Maisto models, you get full steering. This actually has a very good steering, too. And full suspension on all 4 wheels. And unlike a lot of Maisto models, the rear suspension is actually nice and cushy. It's not stiff or anything. The front wheels, on the other hand, are kind of stiff when you push down on them, but that's not too big of a deal. The side mirrors are done in plastic, and it's actually kind of strange. They're not really done in the same metallic purple that the rest of the car is. They are indeed purple to match the car, but they're not really done in a metallic finish. So you can kind of tell that they're made of a separate type of plastic. You take a look at the side here. You do get separate plastic pieces for the door handles. And I don't know if this black should be an intake or if it's just painted on like that on the real car, but it is a matte finish, so it is separately painted. And the overall fit and finish of the opening parts on this model looks good too. There's a bit of a big gap on the hood here, but this is a darker colored car, so it's not really that big of a deal. The windshield is actually very thin, and I would suspect that it might break off if you touch it too much, so just be careful with that. And the wipers, oddly enough, are in this direction, as if this was a right-hand drive car. I don't know if all the models were like that, or if it's just, or if that was just an error on the part of Maisto. I will take a look at the back of the model here. Also, this rear tonneau cover looks very well done too. It's actually plastic. It doesn't come off or anything, but it does actually match up well with the rest of the car, and it kind of finishes off the back look of the car too. Very, very cool. You do get a Carrera badge back here, done in black. And this this rear vent or grill back here actually is not perforated. At least it's actually a separate piece, and it does look decent overall. Would have been nice to see if it was like actually a perforated piece. You do actually get Porsche embedded in this like rear taillight housing back here. I really like the 1980s Carreras because they have this taillight feature. Oddly enough, it looks like the turn signals are on the outside instead of the inside, which is kind of strange, but very cool nonetheless. This is all one single piece too, with 2 pegs in it, but the pegs are kind of obvious, especially if you look at them like up close. So that's a little bit annoying, but that's not too big of a deal. And this bumper back here is actually a separate piece. You can see that the purple and black are separate, and it looks very well done. You get that same license plate back there too. All right, we'll take a look next at the opening features of this model. We'll start up here with the luggage compartment. You can see Maisto did an overall good job in here. They include a full spare tire. It doesn't come off from what I can tell, but it actually is a full-size wheel and kind of a thin rubber tire that surrounds the wheel. So I think they did a good job with that. Instead of just putting in like a molded plastic piece that looks like a wheel, they actually did a fully separate piece for that. You do get a small little grill back here. There's no texturing. It looks a bit too shiny. I don't know if that should be rough plastic or if it should actually be shiny. I'm not really sure what the inside of the real trunk on the actual Speedster looks like. I think Maisto did a good job overall. We'll take a look next at the engine. This is a mid-engine car, so we'll take a look back here. I think Maisto did a good job with the engine detail back here. You can see there's multiple pieces in here, multiple components. There's actually a fan in the front here. A lot of chrome, actually. I don't know if that's too much chrome, but at least it is like a separate piece. So you can actually see one of the suspension springs when I push the car down a little bit too. And you can actually see all the way down to the bottom of the car. You can see all like the pulleys and wires and everything. A typical, good job for a Maisto engine in one of their 1990s cars. This is a little bit loose when you open and close it, so just be careful with it, or else it might like stop staying open after a while. And we'll take a look at the interior detail next. Very stiff doors. They do open up on dog-leg hinges, but that's how most Maisto models open up anyway, from the 90s. Not too much to see on these door panels. They do have a nice texture to them. The real car didn't really have that much on there anyway. There might be a couple details that it's missing. Maybe like one of these things should be silver or something, but the overall fit and finish of the door panel itself and the texture, I think, look great. Same thing on this side too, and they're not loose or anything like that. Cool thing about these seats is that they're actually adjustable, and they fold too, like all the way down like that. So you either have it like in this setting, or have it kind of in the middle, or have it fully folded like that. I think that's a really cool feature. Not many of Maisto's models, they used to advertise they had folding seats, but none of them really stayed in place. This one and the 96 Corvette are the only 2 models I can think of that had truly like folding and staying in place seats, which I think is a very cool. I think you do get actually some tiny little back seats back here. So maybe this cover comes off on the real car and you can actually sit back there. But the front seats overall, they look very well done. You can see there's actually a nice leather pattern on them. And if you run your finger along them, it really does feel like the real seats. And they are very thin, just like the seats on the real car. You also get adjustable sun visors too. They actually have a leather texture on them too. Very, very cool. Though this whole piece kind of moves around a little bit, I may take that off and just glue it back on so it stays in place, but that might just be a factory defect. Not too much to see on the dashboard here. You do get a really nice leather pattern on there. Might be a little bit too overly done, but on the steering wheel, it's actually a different texture. You don't really get too many buttons or anything. I see there's like 3 underneath this vent here, but maybe they should be colored in. I'm not really too sure. But the rest of the details look great, like the shape of the vents and everything. And also the steering wheel is a very well done. There's no Porsche inscription in the center. I think that's missing. But the overall shape and texture of the steering wheel looks great. And here it is kind of moving around with those front wheels. And the gauge cluster, you do get a nice sticker back there for that. The shifter down here is actually a separate piece, as well as this parking brake here. And the floor kind of has a rough texture to it, almost like it's carpeting. Actually, maybe it's a little bit too shiny. But there isn't really too much to see on this interior, but the real car I don't think had that much in there, because this was from the 80s, so you didn't get like a GPS screen or anything like that. There's the interior. All right, we'll take a look last but not least at the undercarriage detail. You can see that most of the engine detail is actually seen from the underside of the car here, but it's actually completely done in chrome. It shouldn't be chrome on like the real car, or the real car wouldn't have like an all chrome look like this, but at least Maisto does that in kind of like a separate color instead of just doing the whole thing black. They actually went to the trouble of making this like a chrome piece, so you can kind of see the detailing in that sense, and it does look good. So if you can find this model for a good price, I would say definitely get it, especially if you're a fan of, Porsches or cars from the 80s and what have you. It really does look good, especially in this dark purple. It just looks awesome, especially paired up with those black seats and like the black rims. So overall, I hope this video was helpful. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on this model or on the real car. Thanks for watching.